So there's been a lot of pushback, as I said, not just in regards to YouTube and the community, right? And you bring up an excellent point about how certain people might feel a certain type of way because of the hierarchy. Do you think that this is a generational thing? Because you look at it now, where there was a study that came out that 52% of millennials and Generation Z from ages 18 to 35 are living at home. Is it, and then you figure that there's a lot of men in that group. It didn't specify just separate men and women. It just said 52% of Generation Z and millennials. But is it, when you look at that, like when you hear something like that, have, particularly when we're talking about men in that age group and in their in their 20s, 30s, even 40s, we can go up that way, have men become soft? Are they not as competitive as prior generations?
So yeah, there are many things folded into that question. To begin from the end there about the soft, you can always say that, you know, strong men create good times, and then it goes from there, right? Genghis Khan came through, and by the third generation of the Khans, they were softer. And usually you have the conqueror, and then you have the philosophers, and then you start having more Epicurean or people who were into just sensuality and just kind of squandering the largesse of the results from the conqueror type. The conqueror is the hard man, right? And a few generations down, you have this, and then things crumble, and then usually because another conqueror comes in and conquers that society. So all that general story is true. However, with regards to hierarchy in general, I have to mention something about the trajectory of modern society after we broke down the church and the state. And you see the direction that was going towards, which is, so the king on top, hierarchy, okay? Or the pope, or God on top, and then the king, and so on and so forth, rather regimented. Or you have the church, rather regimented. And then for certain political reasons, we moved into a couple of, and forgive me for getting particularly, maybe I'm up too so obscure here, but a couple of states of nature. One of the states of nature, which the American tradition comes from, is that of Locke and Hobbes. The state of nature which rights come from. We say the state of nature, man, think about your state in nature, and it is short and brutish, and it's the war of all against all.
Right.
So what do you want in that state? What do you want? You want life, you want liberty, and you want pursuit of property or happiness, right? So it's like, okay, well, let's found a society on that, on rights, which is based on emotions.
Right.
The problem though is, you cannot forever keep a bound around that emotion, because really, rights are emotions, okay? Rights are emotions conjured up from a myth of the state of nature. Okay. That particular myth of the state of nature, okay? But the thing is, as you roll the time forward, people are gonna be like, but this other thing is a right, and how about my right to this, and how about my right to thoughten it up, and how about my right to just being a lazy bum, and how about my right to this? Healthcare should be a right, and this is a right. In other words, you've kind of unleashed a certain thing. First of all, you want to break down the whole modern project was about breaking again down the church and the state to create a space mainly for science. That's why they were doing it. Okay, they wanted to create a space for science, and then a political regime which respects science, and so on and so forth. The scientific approach towards that, something we can all agree on. Let's imagine the state of nature. Let's talk about what we want there. Okay, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. But you cannot keep that chained. It's gonna keep on. There's gonna be creep. People are gonna want to be like, well, how about this feeling? How about that feeling? Well, why do I have to feel bad about this? And so on. So up to the point where you get to this, quote unquote, as you said earlier in the day, SJW world, right? So it was almost like a natural progression. Right. Okay. So that is it from that point in terms of the hierarchy and modern society. So it's not so much of a surprise that we're seeing a particular cohort of people expressing these kinds of things.